Basically, when I was young, I was very much into animated films. I basically started drawing. I started copying at the time in my childhood, like different Disney characters, specifically the Disney animated films in the Renaissance, like The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. This is the film that inspired me to become a children's book illustrator. So yeah, this was really neat when I was that age because there weren't too many musicals, and especially animated musicals. It was so pretty how they animated under the water. And so originally I thought, oh, animation, feature film animation, I would love to go into that. And so as I continued through school, they were just starting from the hand-drawn animation to computer animation, and I started to actually do some traditional illustration, and I was introduced to some children's book illustrators, and they kind of got me into the field, and I thought, you know, this is kind of like a film, but it's like still pictures from a film, and you get to have more control over it. You know, you're one person versus like feature film animation, you have an entire studio. At the North Riverside Public Library. Well, like this week I'm working 6 days, but typically it's a 5-day work week. So once again, like for a 40-hour week, I do 8 hours a day, but I do end up working overtime there too. So maybe it's like more like 9-10 hours a day, depending on what's going on there. We have a lot of meetings. Sometimes I'll go for weeks on end, you know, where I don't draw too much. I should probably illustrate more regularly. I do like doodle, you know, a lot just for fun, but yeah, as far as official illustration, yeah, kind of like the schedule I described. I write for children with simpler vocabulary than you would in obviously adult stories, but at the same time you still want to tell the stories in the best way possible, so you're just working within the limitations of the vocabulary. But outside of that, you know, you have as much freedom obviously in terms of subject matter and content, you know, with as the fantasy and anything else that you want to tell, but that's the only limitation. Not too much otherwise. So yeah, it is challenging how to present serious issues, like with people with disabilities, like why is he so special? And also in Samson's Tale about topics like children who have cancer. But we try to present it in a way that's very sensitive and that talks about it in a realistic way, but not quite going into every graphic detail. That's why they presented the story from the dog's perspective. So it had a little bit of removal, so the dog kind of knew what was going on, but not every detail, just waiting, like why wasn't Daniel around all the time? So they were just general ideas of something wasn't quite right, but not going into quite the detail, but yet still experiencing the emotions going through it. And the same with why is he so special? You have moments where you talk about some of the details, but not all of the details. So it's kind of how children would actually experience these things, and maybe they won't be exposed to everything, but just know something's not quite right with all of these situations or what the problems would be. Yeah, I've been really lucky in my library job that I do get to work with children and to incorporate my art background to teach children about illustrations. I think children have a natural propensity to do art and enjoy doing art. And so that's one of the things I really enjoy doing is when I get to do presentations at schools or workshops with kids and show them that they can not just create art, but create art to go along with stories and have a story behind the illustrations. And so that's what I usually do workshops about. I'll say, you know, here's the story, what would you create for the cover, which character, and it makes them think a little more in depth and also what they can do with their art. With the painting fundraiser, it was really great to reach the adults, and that it was another way that we could bring art to them. And so that's what we ended up doing, and it was so fascinating to see all the different ways that they were able to interpret the same scene that we were trying to paint together.
It's like a combination of all the different colors, and depending on which. Yeah, you could just add that.
There's a lot that drives me to do illustration. Basically, the main thing is how much I like telling stories and sharing different perspectives with people, being able to touch people with the stories that I tell, and yeah, being passionate about what I do and the type of stories that I tell.